Yo, say whatever you want, but guess what? William Zepeda will not beat Shakur Stevenson. That's it. I don't want to hear nothing else. He not beating him. Deal with it. That's just something you got to deal with. Now, why am I saying this? Ego thoughts. I told you I'm going back to the basics just to get some good boxing talk. Things I want to talk about. I don't care what other people are talking about. I don't care what's being reported. It's what I want to talk about. And I got to say this. You guys can listen to me. You could believe whatever you want. Shakur Stevenson will defeat William Zepeda. That's if Golden Boy even pushes forward with the fight. Because I think Oscar De La Hoya tries to be slick. You know, he'll clap back Thursday and talk about Eddie Hearn or this and that in boxing and, you know, make the jokes. But he won't clap back at his Latino night and that crowd. The crowd looked crazy. They looked like they were in like a high school gymnasium in Saudi Arabia or something. Like it didn't look like that many people were there. And they had Latino nights in Saudi Arabia where a lot of Latinos can't get to or didn't go to. You know what I mean? Like if you live in California and you're Latino, Hispanic, going to Saudi Arabia, you know, that takes some, when you're not being paid for it and you got to fund the whole trip. Not everyone can do that, you know, or if you live in Mexico and you want to see Latino nights, you want to see Gilberto Ramirez or whatnot, and Jose Ramirez, you know, you might not be able to make that trek from Mexico to Saudi Arabia and so on and so forth, Texas to Saudi Arabia. So I didn't even really understand that, but Oscar won't talk about those things. The other thing is he's publicly put out and outlined the fights he wants. And he took shots at Jaron Boots Ennis, and I'm not protecting Jaron Boots Ennis. It is what it is. But when Boots had an okay performance, lackluster performance versus Karen Chukadesian in the rematch, he was quick to call out Boots and basically told Eddie Hearn not to back out and make the Virgil Ortiz fight. So the same energy needs to be kept for Shakur Stevenson and William Zepeda. And again, I don't know what Turkey, if he already has a contract with them that they have to make the fight. It sounds like the fight is pretty well in place. DAZN was asking Zepeda about it. But listen, I don't do fight predictions unless there's a fight or the inclination that there's a fight. So for all intents and purposes, we have a fight coming with Shakur and Zepeda. And I've studied both fighters. I really get into this boxing stuff. I've watched probably all of Shakur's fights or most of them. I know his deficiencies, his strengths. I know, you know, when he turned pro, I've seen his career, right? He was touted when he was a teenager. So we've been watching Shakur Stevenson since 14, 15, whatever, you know, when he was having wars in the Mayweather gym with Devin Haney, things like that. So he's been on the radar. William Zepeda, Dave hyped him up. So I watched several of his fights, Maxie Hughes and Jojo Diaz and Giovanni Cabrera and all these fights, right? The thing is, the Tevin Farmer fight was the most telling because Tevin Farmer doesn't fight exactly like Shakur Stevenson, not at all. However, he was the closest to a Shakur Stevenson. I think it's safe to say that. So let me say this again for the slow people in the back. Shakur and Tevin Farmer do not fight alike. They have their own styles, etc. However, if you look at the rap sheet and the resume of William Zepeda and you had to look up and down it to find one fight and one fighter that you felt closestly, like match closest to Shakur Stevenson and what he brings to the table, you would obviously say the Tevin Farmer fight. Both guys are black. Both guys are American. Heights may even be kind of similar. Both southpaws, things like that. They both have offense, but defense. They don't fall asleep on defense. Even though there's inherent differences, again, you can't compare Shakur to Giovanni Cabrera or Maxie Hughes or Jojo Diaz. So this was supposed to be a test for Zepeda and kind of that barometer style fight to see how he fares. Now, if he destroyed and decimated Tevin Farmer, I think that would have been better for him, because then he could be like, aha, look, I told you I was ready. And that would have been a good indication that maybe he's ready. It's not even an indication that, yes, because Tevin Farmer, I think he got 7 losses now. Shakur has 0. It's always going to be harder to take somebody's O. So they're in different stages of their career on top of them not fighting alike. So this was the audition tape, if you will, for Zepeda, and I wasn't impressed. I seen a person who just throws a lot of punches. I feel like Shakur Stevenson, he's not game goofy. First of all, he's heard the criticism from his last 2 fights, Artem Haratunian, William Zepeda. That's one thing. So he's going to try to clean up his work, especially if they're saying Zepeda, or at least, I don't know about now after Tevin Farmer, but before they were saying he was a boogeyman. He's ranked in all 4 sanctioning bodies. Shakur is not going to take this fight lightly. Also, he's coming off injury, so there's that. Plus, he's a free agent, and then he just signed to Eddie Hearn for 2-fight deal. So you got a new promotional. So Shakur Stevenson, I truly believe, is gonna pull out the stops and, he's a gym rat. He stays in the gym. He stays trying to learn, watching tapes and stuff like that. He also has a legendary fighter like Crawford, who there's a clip of him right now, and Crawford's showing him stuff and training him. And, I don't know how his hand is doing from the surgery, but they were working and it looked like he was using both hands. So all in all, I don't think Shakur is going to underestimate William Zepeda. But I think this fight with Farmer exposed the deficiencies in experience, and it showed William Zepeda to be kind of overhyped and one-dimensional, right? Yeah, we'll watch the fight. I'll definitely watch the fight because, hey, there's a chance when you got a volume guy with some power and an attrition style, what if he catches him? Styles make fights. You never know. We want to see Shakur versus certain pressure styles. But I think even the Oscar Valdez was super dangerous because he had destroyed Miguel Berchelt with a single shot, and he was outboxing and beating him up the whole fight. And then he leveled him and decimated him with 1 shot. And then we seen Shakur Stevenson, he didn't even get touched in the fight, right? And he dropped Oscar Valdez. So Oscar Valdez had more experience, he had power, and he had this rugged Mexican style and heart, but he also, in my opinion, boxes better. William Zepeda is just throwing a gang of punches. Now, I've made a video about it. Tevin Farmer posed a very interesting question about the lack of testing in Saudi Arabia when he fought Zepeda. That doesn't look good because Zepeda's style is like the Energizer Bunny, and he's throwing a massive amount of punches consecutively. And Tevin Farmer said he was asking about the testing, and they said they were going to do it, and then they ultimately didn't do it. So you got to put an asterisk by that protocol. That just looks fishy and it looks bad for the sport of boxing. But enough of that. I don't see Zepeda beating Shakur. He's too good, he's too sharp, and he's going to pick Zepeda off. And then the other thing is, you've seen Tevin Farmer, who's not even a big puncher, floor Zepeda, floor him just with a counter, because you're probably worried about your offense and you got greedy and you got sat down. So if you fight Shakur months away, how much can you really learn in that amount of time? It's just one training camp. Like, how much can you improve in terms of who you are as a fighter? It's hard. It's kind of like you see Deontay Wilder in his new team. They're kind of trying to have him box more, but I don't think that's Wilder's style. And at his current age, is he going to be like a Pernell Whitaker type boxer when he's been knocking everybody out with the right hand and power? Probably not. So I really don't see what William Zepeda will do to look much different. And he's just going to try to overwhelm Shakur, who's extremely defensive minded and hard to snipe and catch, And the more you throw punches, we all know the more you're susceptible for a counter. So yeah, Shakur might actually have, I don't know, because Shakur, it's hard to say, but Shakur, he might put on a masterpiece just because of the style that's in front of him. Just a tough, durable guy who's coming forward, throwing a bunch of punches and not really heavy on defense. Or I could also see it where Shakur just boxes him. He might have to feel him out and see, okay, he got some real power. And depending on that, it might be like the Edwin De Los Santos / Artem Haratunian fight, where people are going to say it's boring, but the guy gets his ears boxed off in William Zepeda. So take your pick, but Shakur is not losing the fight. But Golden Boy said they wanted to make the fight, so I hope they don't try to back up and screw Shakur, because he needs names on his resume, and Zepeda is ranked in all the sanctioning bodies, and that's not fair because your fighter looks suspect after you told the world you wanted this 5 versus 5, you back off the block. So I need to hear everybody calling William Zepeda a duck if Golden Boy decides to back out of the fight. But my opinion, ego thoughts, Shakur is not losing that fight. I seen what I need to see. Church.